on the side swap now, and we've got W7M going down to the basement of Church and Arsenal. Now, just from a quick look at their operators, this looks, and the operator positions, this looks exactly like this is going to be a turtle setup from W7M. We can see they want to impact trick the hatch. There are 4 impacts in hand. They've got a smoke, they've brought a warden with a C4, and then a Wamai to basically deny as much utility as absolutely possible. If we look at the wall setup, you can see triple wall of Church is reinforced. That tunnel is fully reinforced. So that's 5 reinforcements. Add into the fact that the kitchen hatch will about to be reinforced, and the stock hatches and the bar hatch. There's your 8 reinforcements. There presumably at some point will be a reinforcement in blue with 1 left over. Now, G2 are actually bringing a lineup that makes a lot of sense when you take a look at it. They've got Book for Soft Breach. They've got their 2 entry fraggers, Doki. Well, sorry, I say 2 entry fraggers. They've got entry fragger of Doki and Alamau, who's kind of the flex into whatever, playing both nades. They're bringing 4 sets of nades, or 4 nades, 2 sets of nades. They're having to bring the Mav because of the Kaid presence, and then they've got Blair on the hard breach. But again, Queen of Hatches, Habana. For G2, this is looking like it's an ultra flexible comp. There's obviously no roaming going on, as we can see from the top down. G2 don't necessarily know that at this point. There's no roaming going on, so they've got a good lineup for this. They've brought 3 sets of flashes as well. Now, I don't think the Warden pick was particularly necessary here from W7M. They banned away the Ying, but the flashes can come in, smokes can come in. Warden is a very comfortable operator pick for, you know, a lot of players in today's meta. So what do G2 know? Doki's got a drone in Garage. He knows there's nobody in Garage. Benja's drone has been shot. Virtue's got a drone in CC. So G2 are acutely aware right now that there is no roam going on. Blair's drone has been shot, and Alamo's got a drone in Kitchen. So he knows that somebody is about to come and reinforce the kitchen hatch. So we'll see how this one plays out. W7M are just doing a lot of barricades on the mid floor. Wait, kitchen hatch has not been reinforced. Wait, are they gonna... Surely they're not going to stick the kitchen hatch reinforcement right now. W7M have actually changed up a little bit. They're going to try and play in and around kitchen. There's 1 playing main stairs, 1 playing kitchen very aggressively, and 3 out on site. G2 seem to be aware of this, and Benja, and again, Benja's playing the soft breach operator, so this gunfight that Benja is going to have ultimately at some point is very important, because if he dies, G2 are going to get caught lacking, won't be able to do the vertical. But it's a very fast entry by G2. They're taking the ground that was given to them. They had some very good drones very quickly. They've made some very good assumptions that there's nobody up here playing on the top floor. They feel that it's a turtle with somebody on main stairs, and they're trying to aggress and play the time. Because if you do a full clear against a turtle, obviously if you're full clearing and you've got to spend all the time clearing the top floor and then all the time on the mid floor, you have no time to execute on the basement. And that's kind of what we saw W7M have the issue with in just the previous round. So I'm loving this pacing so far from G2. Is Benjamas playing hard breach? No, he's not. So Doki has made a play, but KZ has obviously been on the main stairs and made a play back at him. What did Doki know? Who was on the drone for him? That's what we need to figure out. Was anybody on the drone for him? What did Doki know? So if we go back to this, Doki is well known to be in bar. Is anybody droning for Doki? Alamo and Blair are both guns up. Virtue is droning, but is droning Garage. So I think Doki has maybe hyperfixated, because let's not forget, this guy in kitchen was known about, completely known about, and KZ therefore was not necessarily as well known, but he did shoot a drone. So Doki has maybe overheated a little bit there and peeked him. I don't know if he had information or not. It's very hard to tell. Kitchen hatch was opened. Now this is W7M saying, well, we know that we're going to play a cat and mouse game of opening the kitchen hatch. Why don't we just open it for you? We'll use it as an escape tactic. W7M's win condition here was being able to find that 1 pick that they found and then dropping away. And that's exactly what they've done. I'm not saying I agree with the win condition here, but they've certainly executed what they believe to be their win condition. Drop themselves into sight, take the blue, and now we've got a quote-unquote normal round of siege now happening, apart from the fact that the kitchen hatch is pre-opened and G2 are playing it 4v5, and also they've lost a set of nades. G2 so far have fallen into W7M's trap. Habana will open up the stock hatch, presumably will now make way through to go and open up the bar hatch as well. I would assume that we would see. We should also start seeing Benjamin doing some work on the book. He's done a little bit. So he's opened up the main stairs flank. So we now know that the main stairs cannot be flanked. Do G2 have a drone or any information? Yes, they do. We also know that the blue stairs cannot be flanked. Don't know if there's a garage drone. Doku's garage drone may still exist. Yes, it does. We can see it there. So we full well know that all of the flanks are now covered from G2. So from G2's perspective, it's just about opening up what they need to open up and executing a plan. I would suggest that at this point, they should focus on kitchen and dirt. Because Blair's got enough Habana pellets that he can open up a walkway into dirt tunnel and also the kitchen hatch. As long as you play vertically, you can move everybody out of here. And then as long as you play through dirt, you can basically stop anybody aggressing for a plant. That's probably the only attack that can work in a 4v5 of this kind of nature. And we'll see, you know, the book is doing a lot of work here. Motor hatch will be opened up just because you can open up the motor hatch for free. And as you can see, that tunnel is now going to be opened. It's not Blair that's going to open it up. It's going to be Virtue. Doesn't matter as long as it's opened. So the key fight, realistically, is this Malusi here of JV. And whether he can hold on to that tunnel. Because with the hatch being opened, there is an angle all the way down to his door. And he has basically no utility. If G2 can get him for free, this round is recoverable and winnable. Because all of these church players simply don't matter. Because the end goal for G2 is you want dirt control. So if he's dead, you then want a player to be here holding a long angle so nobody can swing. You then have a player on the hatch holding a long angle towards the double door. You have a player in dirt that can react to wherever these swings are coming from. And then your end goal is a plant there. And this is G2 executing a kitchen dirt. But it all relies on whether they can take dirt control and if they can do it for free. That's the important thing. If they get refragged, if W7M get the first kill, then it's not going to work for them. And they need to do it fast. It seems that JV is aware. So this is the big engagement that will win or lose the round. JV is dead. So now they can take dirt. What G2 should do is rotate one guy out of dirt and go to the hatch for a plant. It looks like they're doubling up. There's nobody currently playing on the hatch, which means that KZ can play here for free. It means the double door can be played for free. G2 are trying to put a little bit of pressure on Church. You can see these floor breaches. They're trying to overcomplicate it at this point, actually. Because they've got everything they need just to execute a default setup. Alamal picks up a big kill onto KZ. KZ gets aggressive. Didn't necessarily need to, but is acutely aware of the situation. That as soon as Dirt's lost, a kitchen dirt can be completely executed. Alamal picks him up. And G2 get away with it, I would say, for not having the people in full correct positions. Main stairs is now forfeited. But Alamal can make a play and has made a play into the back of Armory. He's made a play onto AKs. He's got the shield control. And the amount of times we've talked about it is fighting against this is very hard for whoever is in blue. And as you can see, you've got the Wamai of Herds in blue having a very awkward fight. Or will have a very awkward fight. Flash goes in from the hatch. Or from the vertical, should I say. And at some point, we would expect the diffuser of Blair to be dropping down here. Does drop down. Is actually very fortunate, and this is why I say I wouldn't have two people in dirt. Is very fortunate that he's not being held from the church double door. Very fortunate that, you know, Wamai has obviously died. It could have gone wrong for G2. It hasn't because Alamau has made the play, but I would have rotated Virtue back out of there to be controlling the hatch. Because they've got perfect places now. The one player that I would have is I'd have someone on kitchen hatch. But it's not a full need. Alma finds another kill onto Herds. Very nice round from him, to be honest. Plant will go down. He's now trying to pistol whip everybody he can. Virtue finds the kill on onto the church player. So Virtue pushes in and just holds the church angle anyway. The one that I said I would throw open from the hatch. And it's all around Volps on that shotgun. Gets taken out. Nice round recovery from G2. They fell into the trap. And I did say that I thought W7M's win condition of, you know, playing with this hatch open would give G2 a little bit too much time. I felt that if W7M just did a pure turtle there, they probably would have made it work. But yeah, I think G2 could have executed that round better, but it was a good round recovery from them, and that's what you'd want to see, especially on a map that they don't really play too often. Round 8, and we're going to see W7M are actually going to go to cache and CCTV, which is exactly what G2 did as a secondary site. I'm not sure what it is with teams at this site, but this site should be so attacker-sided, and I just see teams fumble the bag attacking it all of the time. Now, it's going to be very default. This is exactly the same setup that you would see in a silver ranked game, genuinely, in terms of the reinforcements. You've got 4 garage walls reinforced. You've got the top rafters wall reinforced. Notice it's not a rotate. It is just complete holes for the players that are playing rafters. Then you've got the 2 site walls reinforced, the construction single. Top red wall will be reinforced. There is one in hand for W7M. And then the construction single. So, W7M are completely just playing the default. In terms of operator lineup, notice how I said Benji was on Mozzie when G2 defended this. Herds is on the Solace. Now, this operator is great at 2 things. Early round, scouting out the drones. If we quickly have a look at G2's drones, we will see that they've actually done pretty well. Solace has only found the 1 drone. So actually, the value that Solace has brought so far isn't the best. But Solace is great for knowing in the prep phase where the drones are or where the drones are coming from. As you can see, there are 4 drones live for G2. So, as I say, Solace has potentially maybe failed a little bit. But we don't know if she has a full awareness on where the rest of these drones are. We'll have to check that in a second. Smoke, considered standard. Wamai, playing in the rafters. You're going to have Azami playing in the rafters. And then Volps is actually on the Maestro to try and give information. I would presume that there are Maestro cams. Can we see? There is one in cache there. And the other is also in cache, which is curious. Normally you would see some kind of Maestro cam placement, information placement for this side. However, I guess W7M consider that their cache side, they would be giving up bedroom, they would be giving up construction should they need to, and therefore they want to have this utility just in case. So they want to stronghold the west side with utility, and they want to stronghold garage with 2 people. As you can see at the start of the round, 2 people are going to play inside a garage to try and make it an absolute fortress. Now, what did G2 know? Doka's drone's been destroyed. Benja's drone is outside garage. Virtue's is in bar on the stage. Blur's is in bar on the rafters. And then Alamau's is at garage door. So what we'll do is we'll just double check the value that Herd's got out of it. And again, I think we will see at the start of the round, I think what we will see is that actually that he's doing reinforcements. And this is a problem that some teams have had trying to integrate Solace into the lineup, is finding, I would say, time to allow the Solace to just go drone hunting. You can see he's got his gadget on now. He's having a look. He sees 1 drone outside the breach. He sees 1 drone outside stock door. But he can't really make a play for it at all. And I think that's part of the problem, is that actually he should have been doing this before he reinforced. He didn't check in bar. He's now check in. He knows it's in the stage, so he will go and get it. He's also seen 1 in bar. So actually, he's expecting maybe G2 might come and lurk in from strip side. Doesn't get both the drones. It doesn't look like G2 are actually going to do that, to be honest, with their lineup. We've not talked about G2's lineup yet, but it makes a lot of sense. Now, the reason it makes more sense than what W7M's lineup is they're bringing the Monty, but crucially, they're bringing the Monty with the EMP grenades to go alongside the IQ. Now, do you remember how when W7M attacked this, they couldn't get the breach off? Because they couldn't get the breach off, they lost the whole round. G2 are circumventing this by, if W7M. They don't know because we've seen the drones there. They don't know if W7M are playing a Cade or not. But if they are, Virtue can find the Cade Claw with his IQ, and Alamau can EMP the Cade Claw for Blair to breach. It's the synergy between these three operators here that is going to open the breach for G2. Now, actually, as we can see from the top-down perspective, there is no Cade. But this was G2's line of thinking. That's why IQ was played. That's why the EMP's onto the Monty. You would expect Benja's going to go and open garage. So, from what I am expecting here, I'm expecting a very default take, and we can see Benja is already outside of garage as well, where I'm expecting a very default take from G2 in terms of taking the garage and opening the breach. Big question mark in my mind right now is about whether Alamau G2 can actually take garage because of the presence of two players inside of garage. The Monty will be able to walk up, but they will not be able to walk up behind the Monty. They will need to figure a way, G2 will need to figure a way to clear at least one of these players before the Monty can be effective. So that's the big game of cat and mouse we're going to see. G2 obviously have checked the breach, they know it's open, they know it's fine. Now the breach is open, and we should be able to see in a second from where Blair is. I know he's droning, but he should have the long angle towards the garage window. We'll see him on it in a second. There. So he has the long angle, so he traps the Wamai in play. But the Wamai's job is not for the breach. The Wamai's job is to play for the Monty. That's why the impacts have been brought. The Wamai's job is completely to deny and protect this Azami as much as possible. I mentioned the time. Look at the time already. We're 37 seconds into the round, and W7M are already under an enormous amount of pressure. So for any chance for them to win this round, it is all going to be on protecting this garage player. The Solace is out towards the pool table window, can maybe make a play to look out of this window and try and get a pick onto Benja. However, it may well be too late, but Benja needs to be aware of that. Looks like he is aware of somebody is going to try and hold him. So this is where the big fight happens. Whoever wins, gets the net win out of this fight for garage, probably will win the round. Because the Maestro cams are useless. The west side of the map is pretty much useless to G2. It is all about whether they can clear and kill garage. Obviously, Alamo is in garage. He knows, and we can only see the keeper barriers from the little thing. They are obviously extended. He takes one impact. He takes two impacts. He takes three impacts. But he stays alive. Now, I would say crucially, Benja has not opened the high angle onto garage. If we just go back, he's opened a low angle. What that means is he can walk in on the player that's playing by the window, but he can't do too much more. Normally, we will see this angle get opened up, so you've got an angle all the way up to the top. But there's 2 points of entry into garage for him. Or, well, I say one, actually. But he can go and open it up again, which is what we'll see, I think, in a second. There we go. He's gone to open it, and actually, he's made a very smart play here as Benja. At the same time, because if you look how this has been breached, it's gone very scuffed. It's gone very scuffed here. He's tried to just hold it just in case a peek happens. Now, still don't know if he can get in that. Probably can just about vault in that, but it's certainly gone very scuffy. So this is what G2 need to do in terms of taking garage. And it's a big old fight between these two teams at the minute. There's one unknown at this point, and that is that Doki has tried to find stuff with vertical nades in stock. Both his nades have now been used, so he might well try and lurk in stock and make a play up red stairs or whatever. Needs to be very careful for the Solace. W7M have done well so far to waste a minute. Done very well so far to waste a minute. Alamo is actually going to make a play up to the top. So you've now got this position that you want. And this is the position I was talking about earlier, is that the Azami can play basically between these two. But you've got Alamo in her face for any time she steps away to shoot. But that is why your Wamai should only focus on Alamo. And that is exactly what I believe is going to happen. So KZ is looking for whenever this guy de-shields. And that means JV can start looking for the picks in and around the keeper barriers as well. But so far, I would say G2 are in the ascendancy. Despite the fact it's 5v5, they've got time to play with, and they've got not a lot of control established. I think Herds can be the unknown factor for W7M. They might not necessarily know that it's a Solace on the board, but any good team knows when you plant in CCTV and you want to end up... Basically, wherever you want to end up when you're planting this side is any of those 3 locations. But you know that all 3 of those locations and every location on this bomb site is susceptible to blow. You need to have a stock drone that would understand that. Anyway, we'll see how this plays out. A D-shield, a re-shield from Alamau. Virtue has found Herds. And whether was he aware or not, we can just double check that. It looks like he was. It looks like he might have been on the drone. Yeah. On the IQ. Did he check? Check. Saw. Killed. Very nice play by Virtue. Very underrated. Because what Virtue has done there is basically guaranteed the win for G2 of this round. Because he has killed the one threat that they might not have known about. Made a very good play. So it's all just about the G2 guys. It's all just about the G2 guys now clearing garage. Doki's made a very aggressive play. And again, not exactly sure how KZ's let him up here. But Doki's made a play up the garage. Ah, there's a keeper barrier. So he's been covered by a keeper barrier. It's very hard to tell because the keeper barriers don't extend in the match replay. But Doki's made a play up, waiting for that peek. Got up and got the kill. And again, do want to preface because that looked like a really weird fight. There was a keeper barrier stopping these 2 players. So Doki's made that play. They now know that the garage window player, and this is maybe a slight lapse from Blair actually, probably should have been on this angle to not let him vault that. But they know that there was a garage window player, so they know that he's got to move. Blair's actually, I say slight lapse, he's made the right play to know that there would be somebody that aggressed top side. Essentially, the way that this one has happened here is that if we go back 5 seconds, Blair was holding the garage window player, right? And at this point, this player is expecting Blair to be here, so he's trying to swing out, but he's not, and has caught him. Blair will get refragged, but Virtue has managed to... Where was Virtue at this point? Virtue has also gone the breach. And it's a 4v1. So it was really nice from G2. It was really nice from Virtue to get that kill onto the Solace. It was really nice from Blair. To be honest, Blair and Virtue were trying to set up that one player was holding that way and one player was holding that way. They just didn't get there in time. But it was really nice refragging from Virtue there. He's had a massive round. Good from Alamau to create the pressure. And a good entry from Doki to take the kills as well. This has been a great round so far from G2. Alamau will then just force his way in. They know it's a 3v1 with guns up. Volps does get one. This is where it starts getting slightly hairy. Benja needs to get into a default position. Volps also kills him. But it doesn't matter. Because they know that there's one on the breach. But it all relies on Virtue winning his gunfight here. Virtue doesn't win this gunfight, this gets very hairy. But he wins his gunfight. Virtue has had a massive round for G2 there. Picked up a 3k, killed the Solace, got the crucial refrag onto Blair to keep the ground in G2's favour, and then killed the final player in the 1v2 whilst his mate was planting, or 2v1 whilst his teammate was planting. W7M have now lost Church and Arsenal and CCTV and Cash, so they move through to their 3rd choice site of gym and bedroom. Now, the reinforcements for this are looking fairly default. You've got 2 walls reinforced to the jacuzzi breach, 1 to bathroom, 1 to gym. You've got to rotate into logistics that's protected by a shield. Your construction single has been reinforced, and you would expect that the logistics wall is going to be, again, this seems to be the latest reinforcement that's ever done, is that one will be reinforced and a rotate made there. You've actually got the 2 CCTV walls left completely soft, but the cache walls reinforced. So what this tells me from the top down already is that it looks like W7M want to play in top red and play in cash early and then facilitate an exit to construction and to logistics and then facilitate an exit back to site. Now, because they've not fully reinforced these walls, they've not touched them at all, what I would say is maybe, and Brazilian teams do like to do this, maybe they are looking to reinforce the construction double so that should G2 get baited, because essentially it is a bait, they want G2 to come from the east side. They want G2 to use breaching utility onto the east walls. They want them to use the hard breach utility onto that wall and then take this ground, take the time, and then get to the point of logistics and not have any breach utility left. If that happened, that creates a stronghold for W7M inside of logistics, and then you can hold a long angle all the way, and it completely circumnavigates the east take from G2. That's what W7M want to happen, I believe, and that's the reason that they're holding on to the pocket reinforcements. They're bringing a Frost, they're bringing a Bandit. They want to try and keep these walls close, because you could even Bandit trick these walls if you get to the late round and your Bandit's still alive. What do G2 know? Doki's got his drone in garage, the same place as we previously saw. It's very hard to read it, where it is right now. Benja's drone is down in the basement of bottom, what's that, Arsenal, in Armory, just looking at basically the bottom blue flank for either blue stairs or oil pit. So it looks like Virtue's drone's muted, Blair's drone is in Adam, and then Alamo's drone's dead. So based on the drone locations, it looks like G2 want to do an east take. So whether G2 fall into the trap of W7M or not, this is what we need to see.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
4 players spawn out towards the east, 1 to the south. This is absolutely an east take coming out of G2. You'd expect fast garage entrance. You would expect them to take very quick control of both garage. I'll let it stop shaking. And also CCTV. And as you can see, in there straight away was Benjamaster. Not messing around whatsoever. G2 don't actually have a sledge or a book. However, Alamo playing the Flores, you would expect at some point he's just going to sit on this drone and open up this wall. Benja has made very quick progress. So, your walls are open. The trap, once the screen stops shaking, the trap has been fallen into. Now, one key factor, because obviously if Benja is here, he can hold this runaway. These guys cannot run away here. One key factor for this whole strategy is KZ on his army. Because what KZ can do from a distance, safe from sight, is close up this doorway with key barriers that allows the 2 players to run away. And this is what W7M want. They want to burn utility. They want to kill the drones. They want to kill time. And then they want to fall back. You can see that the rotate has been made into logistics. You'd expect at some point this gets reinforced. Oh, who's playing there? Bandit. So far, G2 have fallen into W7M's trap. You can see that a keeper barrier gets placed here. Obviously, that is about the size that the keeper barrier would be. Stops any line of sight. So the construction players can play. Benja throws the breaching out onto the cash wall. So W7M are doing well so far. There's that keeper barrier that I talked about. That will now be covering the door. And as you should see, player crosses it, away. So worst case scenario, W7M are going to get away with this with 4 players in and around site and construction. If the one man can get there as well, you will have 5. Yes, he can. So now the trap has been laid. The trap has been set, G2 have fallen into it. W7M are back on site, G2 have taken that ground. Now, curiously enough, W7M have not double reinforced off the logistics side. They've not even reinforced the logistics side. 3 reinforcements in hand, that is absolutely what I would have expected them to do. They could have done it, but they've decided not to. If we go back 20 or so seconds, at this point, when the first bit of pressure was established, absolutely, even a bit before this, Herds could have done it, as could have Frost. Because if we look at what Frost is looking at, the floor. Herds is kind of just holding. They both absolutely could have done that. at this point, and they could have held on to it, but they made a decision not to. I wonder whether this is going to cost W7M in the long run. Because G2 now have 2 minutes to work the site, and there's going to be less and less space for W7M to work into. Because G2 can now play windows. So realistically, for W7M, you can play mattress. You can play any location in bathroom. You can play tucked if you're short. You can play anywhere top main at the minute. And you can play logistics. That's kind of... These are the positions that can be played. And the gym bench here as well. There's realistically not many other positions that can be played from W7M because of the existence of this angle and because of this field of view here. So for W7M, at some point, especially if logistics office gets taken, they're going to be pushed back into the corner where they have to fight their way back out of it. And that's why I would have reinforced. As you can see, Benja picks up that kill on KZ because he's not in any of the safe locations that the rest of the players of W7M are. They're now in a 4v5. Logistics hatch has been opened with the Gone 6 of Virtue. So this is really good from G2. Even though they fell into the trap, or what I perceive to be the trap, W7M never actually punished them for it. Because if these walls were closed, W7M would have a lot of freedom of playing some very deep positions to stop this hatch drop. But because the walls are open, they don't have those freedoms, and they've got to just sit and wait it out, basically. W7M need to hope G2 make a mistake. Maybe this is the first one, where G2 are now looking to try and do too much and do the Jacuzzi Breach. If they could have got the Jacuzzi Breach for free, that would have taken some more of those, what I said was safe locations, out of it. If this wall was breached, then all of this that was previously safe, and is currently safe, and this, wouldn't have been playable. As it is, there is a bandit charge on them, and Benja's going to actually go and have a look to see if he can get the bandit charges, because they can be shot from the window. G2's issue now is if they slow up. They've got the advantage, they've got the ground, they just need to know that they can take it. Again, is this where they're trying to do too much? There's 2 players below. There's 1 outside the main stairs. They really want to try and now add another dimension into the attack. Normally, and what G2 could have done, was just be the driving force and just taken away ground just from the east across completely. Didn't need to add another dimension. Would have been nice, but isn't necessary. G2 are now trying to force that other dimension. First they tried Jacuzzi, now they're trying main stairs. They want to force some kind of backstab here when they don't need to. They had the numbers advantage and they could have squeezed W7M out into the open just by sheer pressure and lack of safe places to play. But as it is, it looks like we've got Benja and Doki trying to force the main stairs. It looks like it will be Benja actually in the end. And this is the worry. This is the worry there. JV finds a flank, gets kill onto Doki, and suddenly this dynamic of actually squeezing all of these players out, these guys that were feeling a load of pressure, 30 seconds ago, 40 seconds ago, are now chilling. They're chilling. JV over here now becomes the #1 priority because G2 haven't just been that tidal force across. I don't know what stopped them, what call was made, but G2 have now stuck their own right back in the balance by not punishing W7M. Because you've now got 2 players with their attention on JV. So even if they get this kill, and nothing else happens, JV has allowed W7M to win the round. Because 33 seconds left, there is attention on a flanker. Look at him. Wastes at least another 3 or 4 seconds. Does in the end die. Could have wasted another 10. But he squeezed another 5 seconds of waste out there. So you've now got 2 players playing window, Alamo forcing out from the east, and now what you tried to do a minute ago with Benja to go up main stairs hasn't happened, hasn't been able to happen. Almo's gone windows again. I'm really not sure why G2 have not just taken logistics office, but it's cost them so far. And you've now got, they might still win it, but look at this, 11 seconds left. And you've still got Benja throwing ace charges to try and distract and fake sound. Herds picks up 1, Blur gets the refrag. But you've now got 2 players that are now playing a late round from relatively safe positions that can especially the player that can wrap around here. Because one of these players is going to have to plant. That player that's going to plant is going to be Blur on the reinforcement, with 2 players holding from master bedroom side. Kills Blur. And that's the round. That is a round that G2 had in a pretty much unlosable state, but then tried to do too much. And teams do this a lot in professional play. At this point, at this kill happening, there is very few places that any W7M player could have played. And G2 should have, just with these 4 players, just been the tidal force into construction and into logistics, trading each other out. They would have had to assume that a player was playing in logistics, but they had the sheer number advantage to just trade that out. And then as soon as they've got logistics, so let's do a bit of scenario planning here. Let's say they get logistics, but let's just say, for example, it's Doki that dies. So Doki's out the picture, but also this player's out the picture. That's the Frost. G2 have presence here and here. What happens to this guy? Well, he's got to cross one of them. So they squeeze that guy out. And then as soon as G2 have got all the way to here, they've got everything they need for a plan. And these 2 guys over to the left side of this line can't do anything. And that's the mistake G2 made in round 9 that ultimately cost them the round, is they gave W7M that opportunity to win the round with a flank by trying to do too much, and W7M took it. Round 10. W7M have gone back down to the basement and they're going to do that turtle setup. Now, if you remember their very first opening round that they opened with, they had basically the same setup. Dirt tunnel was reinforced, church triple wall was fully reinforced, and the hatches, apart from kitchen hatch, were reinforced. This time kitchen hatch is reinforced. There's a reinforcement in blue. This is pretty much a default turtle setup. The same operators, apart from they now have a Cade on the board. So we're going to see a very default turtle hold out of W7M, and for G2 they're bringing a very similar lineup to the last time they attacked this, apart from Benja is playing Sledge now instead of Buck. Now it's all about pacing this whole attack, especially on the turtle. How fast can G2 get into the building and take that ground? Doki was on the Nook last time, so what do they know? Doki's drone is dead, Virtue's drone is dead, Benja's drone is dead, Virtue's drone is in CC. They know CC has not been reinforced, they know it's a turtle. Blur's drone is outside garage, and Alamo's drone is dead. So poor drone management actually so far from G2. And actually the Wamai has gone out into strip and shot some drones as well. There's going to be some barricading, but we would expect fully that this is going to be a turtle out of W7M, maybe with some kind of lurk main says. You see there's a lot of barricading going on. We would expect G2 probably to go in and take garage quickly. They did this last time. 2 have spawned garage, 2 have spawned construction, and 1 spawned down by the south spawn of main. Now G2's pacing the first time they attacked this was very, very quick into the building. Again, within 15 seconds, they've at least taken control of garage. And it actually looks like they are going to do, you know, the full work, the due diligence. Benja droning out the top floor. Obviously wants to just double make sure. But they've got a reasonable assumption through some cut-off drones that they've got the top 2 floors. Very quick control established of blue by Doki. He's actually looking here with a drone behind him as to whether he can take a quick pick, just find something for free. He's going to have a look. Bit too aggressive. KZ rightfully punishes him for that. I think on the very first round, W7M and Herds took the opportunity to walk into blue and took that risk. I think when you found a gap, that risk is worth taking. When you know you're against a turtle, there's a very good likelihood that somebody's going to be holding you. KZ was holding Doki and got that kill. For the rest of G2 though, they can now start establishing a full... It's going to have to probably be a kitchen dirt, but they can start establishing the vertical. They've got the top 2 floors. Ben just ripping the hell out of the floor. The problem for Doki, and I guess the problem for G2, is actually because Doki's died, somebody needs to retake this blue position, because either it comes from oil pit or it comes from blue. On most attacks, whether you plan on ending up in church or you plan on ending up in Armory or Arsenal, whichever one you call it, your blue side is always your backstab. If you don't have that backstab, that means all of the players can just look at where the main push is coming from. So Doki dying there, sure, he has tried to find an opportunity, and that's what you want out of your entry fragger. But when it became increasingly, present, or it became increasingly aware that that opportunity was not going to be found, he needed to back off and just play the part. Because that's now put a lot of strain on G2 in terms of their time management and committing one resource that could have been used somewhere else to having to go blue, because blue is a crucial position. As you can see, the Maverick, again, part of the time management, they're going to have to Maverick open the hatches from Virtue's point of view. He's going to be impacted, all sorts of stuff. Potentially. Kitchen hatch is open. Kitchen has been ripped open. Hibana is trying to open the bar hatch. Does she get it open? Is JV tricking? We will see. JV has tricked it with the Kaid Claw. So that is a good waste of... It's not a waste of utility because it will be open because Maverick's on the board. It's a very good waste of time by JV right now. He may be going 3 and 7, but he made a round winning play in the previous round, and he is compounding the advantage that they currently got in this round by the Kaid tricking. Really good from JV. So now G2 are going to take a lot of time to do stuff. Blair's going to go and focus his attention on Dirt Tunnel and taking that. So that's going to be open. So G2 are going to be forced into Kitchen Dirt Execute more than likely now. So what are W7M doing? Well, they're not playing in Dirt with no utility. Last time we saw, I believe it actually was JV that was playing in Dirt with no utility. There's one YMI Magnet, but they're just not going to play in Dirt whatsoever. Unless they try and make a run for it. And they do try and make a run for it. So, fool me. Because I thought they might not have made a run for it. But they have got somebody in Dirt. And again, if you look at the positionings this time, you've got one player kitchen hatch, one main stairs, one motor hatch. And then Virtue is currently unknown. G2 are going to try and force church here. And this is what happens. This is what happens is that they've made a 3-2-1 call. And to be fair, they have all 3-2-1. Because you've got one player dropping kitchen hatch, one player running down main, and 2 players about to drop the motor hatch. But what's missing? What's missing? That lack of a backstab. So I would expect that players can rotate into blue and can just front this up pretty easily from W7M's side. Benja forces a kill onto Herds. There's pure numbers. Herds will be screaming whatever moto is in Portuguese right now, and people should be flicking it. And here we go. Julio finds 1 kill. Gets traded out. Volps with the smoke has killed their main stairs player. They now know it's complete church push. Shotgun. Shotgun. No fear whatsoever. Now imagine if we go back not too long to the point where they dropped the hatch. Who was it that was doing it? And it was nice timing by G2 because it kind of caught W7M off guard, right? In terms of planning to do this. It caught W7M off guard because they were not expecting a push with 53 seconds left and basically no control. But imagine at the same time, there was a player walking down here at the same time with this pacing. He either shoots this guy in the back, or gets an incredible time in and kills both of these guys through rotate. The amount of guys he would have shot in the back through 1 point of pressure, 2 points of pressure, 3 points of pressure, where they're all looking at it, is incredible. So, without harping on too much about Doki dying in the early round, taking that risk was unnecessary. And when the execute came in, they would have absolutely loved Doki to be there pushing through the rotate. If Doki is now at this point here, this guy dies, and it's a 4v2, maybe even a 3v2 if this guy dies if he dies to the smoke. You then have a 3v2 and full church control. So that's why it is so important. Round 11. Now, W7M, they won their gym defense. Just. They won their church and arsenal defense. Just. So they are in tertiary site territory. Now, again, they're going for the CCTV. It didn't work for them the first time. So it's interesting to see what they have changed in terms of their lineup. Now, they've changed a couple of things. They've gone for more dynamic information on vaults. Instead of the Maestro, they've gone for the Echo. That means that the Echo can actually move the drones through to garage to try and de-stun any Monty that G2 went with on the previous time. And they've gone with the Melusi that they previously didn't have. If they were expecting a Monty in the garage, then they could have actually gone for the Legion, which is what G2 did. So let's have a look at the reinforcements. 4 garage, 1 on garage single, 2 on the site, and then again, your very default reinforcements. Very default play. There's not really too much going on in terms of this setup that isn't default. Now, what isn't default is actually G2. They've only got 2 drones. 1 drone is in bathroom. 1 drone is by trash. And they're bringing Sense and Glass. So we'll have to see what G2 do here. The Sense Glass combo, there's a few things, particularly Sense can do well on this site. Now, one of the things Sense can do on this site is when you've got the breach, you can almost make 2 very long Sense walls that cut lines of sight. So if we talk about the first one that I drew, say this Sense wall. If you do this Sense wall, what you can do is you can then walk in on this Sense wall and look that way towards your rafters players. So you can do 1 Sense wall, walk in and look left from the breach. You can also do 1 Sense wall there and walk in and look right. You could even, if you really wanted to, make it a little bit like Valorant and make it a little bit like Neon, do 2 and then just walk in between them. I'm not sure why you would do that, but you could. So Sense is very curious on this site because of how I would say you can basically cut the site in half from this platform. So it's going to be curious to see how Doki uses this Sense. And whether G2 do their default and just take the breach, take garage, and then work from there, or whether they actually do something a little bit funky, especially with the glass. Obviously, the glass combines with the Sense very well to be able to see through it. So we'll see what goes on there. Virtue has managed to get himself onto the Nook and then 2 hard breaches. So there's a forfeit of, previous to this round, Virtue was on IQ. Alamo was on the Montu, the EMPs. G2 were very aware that W7M didn't run the hard breach denial on this site, and therefore have played according as such. Potentially that's the reason why they lost 3 drones in prep phase, was to figure that out to then enable the Sense and the glass. So let's see how it plays out. We've got 3 people spawning out towards kennels, 1 to the south, and then 1 to construction. So it would indicate that G2 is still going to go for this side, but I wonder whether they do something fast or not. Thermite's going straight to the breach, as is your Sense and your glass. Is that Sense? Yes, it is. Yeah. So, breach is going off. Sense wall is rolled, but caught by the Wamai magnet. So the second one is rolled and missed, and now the third one is rolled. So it's going to look like an absolute cluster. Now, one problem with Sense, as soon as an impact goes off near the Sense wall, it opens it up. So if you're looking at what this Wamai is looking at, he has now created that line of sight that you can't walk in on. However, Alamo does have a line of sight through one of the Sense walls to hit him. Does hit him, and that's that. Sense and Glass, the plan with both has not exactly worked right now. It was a good idea because as soon as the Sense wall goes off, the guys in rafters are going to peek. So it's a nice idea from G2, but it's not worked correctly. It's kind of unfortunate that Doki missed 2 of the Senses, because basically, had he have not, he could have kept rinsing and repeating this to keep the increase in sustained pressure. And you could have done that channel with the combination of Sense and Glass. You could have done the 2 channels that would have allowed Alamo to walk in and start peeking this stuff. So it's a nice idea that hasn't actually worked out, and I think that's why you don't see much Sense play in terms of a UL, or in terms of Rainbow Six. If this was much more like Valorant, where you can, for example, a Viper wall, where you can actually just lay it out and it will absolutely happen through walls, then it would work perfectly, right? But because of the bounce out, because it can be caught by Wamais, it's a very difficult gadget that's very situational as well. So G2's first plan has not worked. what do they do to try and recover the round? Because they don't need this crutch stuff to take control of garage. They can still use a default. The WAMI is rotated. Curiously, KZ is actually rotated away. I think it's due to them seeing a sense in the glass, is that they know there's a good possibility that there's no Monty in play. They know there's a very good possibility that there's no Monty in play. So garage has been opened. So now it's all around JV wasting as much time as he can. He will die. But if he can get to 50 seconds left, 40 seconds left without dying, then he might well find success. Because he's playing his army, he can actually close off some of these key angles as well to enable his rotation and fluidity a little bit more. That's why his army is commonly seen in rafters. So we'll have to see whether G2 actually focus that. As it looks, because we can see the G2 silhouettes, doesn't look like they're particularly focusing on anything right now. We don't know where G2 are going. They're actually going to rotate. So they had everything they needed. They just needed to go in and kill the guy in rafters. But what they're actually going to do is they're going to go and rotate. Now, this cost them on the gym round, where they could have just been that tidal force and won the round. G2 at this moment in time can hold anybody in this site with one player on the breach and then commit 4 people through this breach, through this doorway to kill this guy. They have nades there. They also have flashes and they have nades again. So they've got 2 nades, they've got 3 flashes, and they've got 4 people to go and kill this garage guy. And this garage guy has some keeper barriers and an echo drone to help him out, and that is all. So that's the big problem. Wait, is the echo drone? The echo drone isn't even playing for him. Doesn't matter. Wait, is it? Doesn't look like it. I'm not sure where the echo drone is. Is Echo on his drones? No. So I'm actually very surprised G2 have not taken this ground and executed an attack. They've rotated themselves away because their primary plan has not worked. They're going to actually look to try and find something in the construction side. But the big problem with this is there's 1 minute and 32 to execute this attack. They've made this call after basically half of the round having occurred and only achieving a breach. We'll let it play on. Obviously, the guy in garage is going to be feeling very safe now because he can play anywhere that he needs to. He can even play up to, up to the breach. Virtue has found a kill onto the WAMI from below. That's not the end of the world for W7M. It would have been worse to have lost the smoke. It would have been worse to have lost the Echo of his army. Basically, in order of preference, you would have preferred to have lost the Malusi there the most, but that is what it is. They're not going to be too upset. One thing that I did see, and that I haven't pointed out, and I don't know where it is, was the bulletproof camera that Herds has brought, and where the location of that is. Normally, you will see it on this wall here to see the breach. I don't know. We'll have to double check it once the round's over where that location is, because that could be key information for W7M. Maybe I'm blind and just can't see it already. We'll double check it. So anyway, G2 have got basically a minute to open a breach and force this execute. Blair does have a thermite charge, but obviously the big problem as well is 1 thermite charge of Blair and these impact trick holes. You have got 2 players on W7M, and one of these players, particularly Volps, is in position to impact trick, and if he hits a successful impact trick, then G2 are not going to be able to get the breach onto the construction wall. So this rotation is maybe ill-advised, maybe rushed, and it seems that W7M are aware of it as well. They've obviously... G2 have not helped themselves by the fact that the glass is... How did the glass get downed? G2 haven't helped themselves by the fact that the glass has been downed. I don't know what's happened. Oh, he got shot by his teammate. So they're running out even more time by the fact that the glass has been injured. And W7M seem aware that this is going to happen. You've got a player playing close, which is the Malusi. You've got the Echo drones being moved. You've got a player playing on the breach now. And, this for G2 as well. One of the golden rules that if you're going to come from this side... Well, golden rules of this site, actually, let me go top down properly, is you either come from... Your main push either comes from these directions. You either come from one master or you come from two garage. Whichever happens, the golden rule is you always, always, always have somebody breach. And the reason to stop that, the reason that you do that is to stop this. Because as soon as somebody can play here, it's a very dangerous position because he can hold the breach, he can hold the door, he can hold the CC window jump in, and he can play very fluidly. If you've got someone breach, this whole side of sight is 1 cut and 2 unplayable. So G2 have messed up twice here. Once on the rotation call, and then secondly, to actually not keep somebody on the breach. Look how freely the 1 is playing there. And now you're going to have your breach going off. I believe this actually is going to be a successful breach. Yes, it is. So G2 have now got a successful breach, but they're low on drones. They're low on information. They don't know that the Melusi is tucked close. They will know that there is one playing garage. So they know they've got to clear this angle from this guy, but they don't know about this. That's the biggest problem so far. 40 odd seconds left. Where's the 5th player of G2? Because we've got 1 CC window, 2 CC window. Right, so now Virtue is going to go on the breach. If Virtue can drop down and get this kill, then G2 are absolutely going to be fine. And you got 1 player below. So it looks like G2 are trying to hit from multi-dimensions. And this is what they should do, to be fair to them. This is exactly what they should do, to be fair to them. They're trying to systematically just clear out. You can see Alamo's nading now. The position that he's trying to nade is here. Because this is a point where, to be honest, you would expect the Melusi to be here, not where she is. So Alamo nades that out. And then at some point, G2 are going to go. But if Alamo walks up the red stairs, Virtue drops down and comes breach. 1 comes in the window, and 2 go through the breach in the door. That's actually very good. There's multi-dimensions. There's a lot of things for W7M to think about. They can't play the crossfires. So G2 are making this work just about, but it's very low on time. Herds picks off Doki. So at this point now, the Melusi is known about, but has found value. Virtue drops the breach, and again, picks up a really important kill there. Alamo forces up the staircase, but does get killed. Right, well, an absolute cluster has happened in these last 5 seconds. Benja finds a kill onto the rafters player. And Blair finds a kill onto the Melusi. And then it's a simple numbers game from there. They know this last guy is top red, and they've got him surrounded. Whoever has diffuser, it's Blur, is going to push in and try and plant. And that's going to be that. There's obviously echo drones in hand, and that's why Blair moves to plant on the actual table. The smoke is known and on a drone, and known to be below, and this will be the post plant. G2 made that much harder for themselves than they needed to. But in the end, they considered everything, and they got the job done, albeit very, very, very late on time, and it could have gone very, very, very wrong. But in the end, they got the attack onto Cash and CCTV, and they keep themselves in the game. Round 12, the final round of regulation. W7M need to win this to win out their map pick of Clubhouse. G2 need to win this to take this to overtime. Now, W7M won Church Arsenal. They lost CCTV. Their choices were CCTV, gym, or bar and stage. They could have gone gym. They maybe should have gone gym, but they relied on a clutch to bring them away in gym and get the round win on gym last time they played it. So they go to the 4th site that they've played in this rotation so far, and they've gone to bar and stage. Now, things to note, they've brought a castle. Castle is obviously crowd control funneling, particularly used by W7M to try to control the pool table without using reinforcements. Now, they've currently got 4 reinforcements spare, so I'm not sure why they couldn't just have used 2 reinforcements on the pool table. However, that would have been much more fluid for any lurks in from strip side. So they just don't want attackers or defenders. They basically just do not want this area to be played whatsoever. They've brought a castle, they've brought a solace, they've brought a maestro. Both of the maestro cams will be in and around site. You can see one under the bear over here, and then one will presumably be in and around here. I've done the circle wrong there. So you've got coverage in both sites from the maestro cams. You've got your solace for your information, your castle for your crowd denial, basically. Azami is great on every single site, but will be used probably upstairs alongside mute, because the way that you defend this site is you defend it top down using the hatch and all of the soft flooring should the attackers want this space. So either the attackers have two options. This is what you want to give your attackers, two options. You either want to give them option number one, a full clear, in which they come all the way from the east and the west, they clear the top floor, and what you do as defenders then is you drop down a floor and play outside of the lines of sight of the site and then collapse in when they plant. Or you want them to do number two, which is the direct, and if they do direct without considering top floor, you have the information and holes pre-made that you can punish them for it. So that's why you've got that lineup. On the side of G2, I'd say they've kept it fairly default. They've got a Nook and an Ayana as their entry fraggers, their flex players playing Dokkaebi, and then two breachers. They just want to see what the site setup looks like, see what's what, and then execute an attack. What information do they have? They've got a drone below in Armory. They've got a drone outside of the pool table window. They've got a drone in CCTV. And then they've got a drone in, where is this? Near Strip Club Spawn, and a drone in Kitchen. So they know currently what's being given to them and what W7M are planning on holding. Now for the upstairs hold for W7M, where you draw the line is usually the differentiating factor. Some teams like to draw the line here and try and fight for everything on the top floor. Some teams like to draw the line here and fight for cash plus the rest of the west side of top floor. And some teams draw the line here. It all depends on what reinforcements and how you're setting up. I would maybe argue, given W7M have got 4 reinforcements, they could have fully reinforced off CCTV and cash and the construction single and really layered this and forced G2 to use a lot of breach and utility to take the top floor should they have wished, and the castle enables that. But W7M have obviously left the cash side soft, and they want to left the CCTV side soft, and they want to focus on cash. The benefit of focusing on cash as well is you also get to play vertically above stock. But with 3 reinforcements in hand, I've got to say, I'm not entirely sure about W7M's strategy. You could definitely make better use of these reinforcements. So what are G2 going to look to try and do? It looks like one's going to be outside of the CCTV breach, but there is absolutely nothing unless Ace comes all the way. Where is Ace? Unless Ace comes round, there is nothing Black can do outside this breach other than use a thermite charge on it. So it looks like, at the minute, Ben just trying to lurk for a pick, but it looks like predominantly G2 are going to try and take from the top floor across, and then try and play vertically and full clear. But they're just taking whatever's basically given to them. Doki's found an entrance into Lounge and into top red, and will force his way all the way up. This is very good and very quick from Doki. I think this is a bit of a lapse on the side of W7M's strategy for this. I don't know where Volps is actually rocking the proximity alarms. I don't know where he's used them, but surely one should actually have been on top red so that they know that this has occurred. And again, I'm not so sure on this strategy, because if they've fallen back very quickly, the reason teams take the top floor, one of the attacks that teams can do is what's called a half clear. And all you need to do to execute a half clear is, as an attacker, between probably those 3 positions, control this hatch. If you control this hatch, that actually means you can try and plan on the door or on the bomb chassis, depending, or even deep. Depending on where you can get to with what's going on in the rest of the round, you can try and get plants off in any of those locations. And that is why the hatch for defenders is so crucial. So as attackers, all you need to do is control the hatch. You don't need to actually take the hatch. So that's why I'm curious about W7M and why they haven't reinforced anything, basically. There's 7 walls. They've now been penned into Master and Logistics. It's looking good for a G2 round here, especially given that Doki has taken control of construction. He's actually going to make a play into Master and find a kill. That is absolutely huge from G2's perspective. That is absolutely huge. They've made a great start to this round. Now, we've seen them when they've made good starts actually try and do too much in the round. So let's hope they don't do that. G2 can now, with the control that they've got, basically try to execute onto just the stage if they wanted to. But they've also got the time and people to also full clear. So Doki gets in and tags up Julio as well. He just needs to stay alive, and that's exactly what he's done. So G2 have taken the control that they would have dreamt of a minute 15. Don't know if this is potentially part of doing too much, but Alamo has made a play to up the main stairs. Now, should Alamo get that kill, I'm saying he's a genius and it's the best play ever. He's taken a massive risk whether he gets this kill or not. If he does get the kill, G2 have got an unlosable round. If he doesn't get the kill, he's handed the round back to W7M in terms of man count, in terms of spacing. So it's a big risk for Alamo to take when G2 already had the advantage. When you've got the advantage, you want to just commit to that advantage and win from that advantage. Alamo could have quite happily have had the same engagement that was much more advantageous here. As it is, he's taken it here and he's died. Volps has come up with a massive kill, but he's 1 HP. This means W7M can now still fight for this ground. Benjamaster, where is Benjamaster? Has dropped logistics hatch and found 1 kill. And has found 2 kills. But at the same time, Virtue has been picked off by Herds. So G2 have exploded onto this top floor and have actually played it nicely. They now know 1 player is in the top floor and they've got some kind of cross, but it's very detached. That's between the Thermite of Blur and the Nook of Benja. They need to get rid of Herds as soon as possible. And they have, I believe, no idea where KZ is. And that's the big problem with how G2 have played this. Doki was the forefront of this attack. And then let's just look at Doki's routing back from when he gets this entry. We'll watch this only Doki for the next 30 seconds. In the midst of the chaos, Doki's made a massive play. And again, then just tried to look towards site. They didn't know where Herds was in the end. And Herds gets a massive kill on Doki. Doki's got the kill. Tries to secure the flank, thinks, oh, they might make a play. Especially now we've exploded onto site. Benja's got this double kill. Oh, they might try and flank. Oh, I can just push site. That's what he's thinking. Hasn't considered that Herds could have been Garage. Hasn't considered that Herds could have been Adam. And so as soon as Doki gives it back, that's a 2v2. Now, these 2 players are acutely aware of where the Malusi is. Sorry, not where the Malusi is, where KZ is. Is that SKZ? No, sorry. I'm talking about Herds. I meant KZ that got the flank. But Herds is well known to be in gym. Has no impacts. Has absolutely nothing. Has to fight his way out. Now, Blair and Benja need to know that and need to be aware of that. Benja is aware of that. Tries to do too much. Tries to force it. Because if Benja can hold... if Benja can hold the player in gym, Blair and Doki have a 2v1 on wherever KZ was. But in the end, they actually trade each other out. It's sloppiness from G2 that it was a good idea that then became sloppy. And then you've got a 1v1. And I thought KZ played this wonderfully. Manages to use the information that Blair has gone into the pool table window to jump in. To actually get across from lounge to site. Because he wants to be in site because he has information in site based upon the Maestro cams that are already established. You can see Julio and Herds both sitting on them. Benja's aware that he's crossed. Baits out a couple of shots. Tries to flash in. KZ relocates by using his C4 to stop Blair taking that ground. And manages to relocate back deep into site. In the end, actually drops off of site. It's advantageous for him not to be on site at this point because of the information that W7M have onto the site. There is also a drone that knows the approximate location of KZ, this drone right here. knows he's in the hallway. Blair is also known on the Maestro cam, so they're both being pinged, and in the end, KZ ends up winning it out. And I think I will just reiterate that I thought that G2 did too much. I think the idea that... Where am I going? I think at the point that they made a play and they 3-2-1 executed, I actually criticised Alamal for going up the main stairs. I don't think it was that bad a play. It was maybe a little bit uncoordinated. Alamal went maybe a little bit before Benja and a little bit before the rest of the play. But Doki went off wandering, and that was probably the biggest problem, is the situation management in this particular round was not the best. Was not the best based on the information that they knew. And I think that's ultimately what cost G2 the round. G2 will be kicking themselves because they actually played a really good Clubhouse in comparison to, you know, how good W7M are known. Because at this very moment, right now, it's a 3 versus 2 where one player is completely known and the other is just assumed to be in sight somewhere. And that's the problem. There's a slight lapse. And Blair and Benja could not create a plan quick enough to deal with this guy as a straight trade out. And Doki went off, like I say, went off wandering. He's playing with pretty much zero info here. And obviously goes and gets killed. So for G2, it was a good attempt, but they had so much time. Because when this has happened, there's 90 seconds on the clock. They had so much time to, like, hamburger call, to stop what they were doing, find out where that last player location was of KZ, and then really go and punish W7M and tie this game up to overtime. As it is, in the heat of the moment, they couldn't get the plan together. Doki went wandering, and that again was that opportunity that W7M needed on the defense, and they go and win the round, and ultimately they then go and win the game.